Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. Today, we have another coach for you. We have Alix Randall on the podcast, and her story is like near and dear to my heart because it resembles mine and Jen's, where we are living a life and in a place and doing things we didn't really want to be doing, and kind of tossed it all up in the air in search of something better, more fulfilling, and more exciting. So yeah, you get to hear her story and how she got into coaching, how she started working with us. And I think you're going to really dig it because she's just a tremendous person and a tremendous coach. So enjoy. Hey, Alix.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You look so comfortable. I'm kind of jealous. Like you got a really nice, relaxed.
Yeah, this is my grandma's chair, and she got it probably, I'm just making this up because I really don't know, but like maybe in the 80s or 90s, and it is the absolute it is the perfect retro cozy suede. So like they used to make things just so much better. This thing's still in perfect condition. So
does it spin too?
It
looks
does.
Like you get some rotation. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you can like just crawl up in here and just it's great.
That's fantastic. Can you fit you and a dog in there? A big, I know your dog's a big dog. I don't know.
I mean, I think if he would let me, I think he'd be like, Mom, what the hell are you doing? But he'd probably like climb on my lap. We could get in here.
All right. That's the only thing that would make. So my dog is she is the most aggressive cuddler ever.
Yeah.
So that would be if it couldn't fit me and her, then it might be a bit of a drawback.
He plays really hard in the mud and we're always outside. So he's pretty used to not being on the furniture. He knows by now that if the couch is not covered, he's not allowed on it. Like he will,
wow.
if he'll look at me and start whining and I'll look up and like, oh, the couch isn't covered. I'll put his blanket on and then he'll go crawl up. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. It's very well trained.
Yeah. Well, my couch is really light color. I don't know what made me think a light gray couch was good, but
That's what we have too.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. We are constantly washing it. We have
kids and dogs.
As you do. Yeah. Kids and dogs. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. They are not as refined as like a gray couch
they are not,
requires.
No matter how many times you say don't eat on the couch or get your dirty feet off the couch or no shoes on the couch, it still happens,
So it's not me. Okay, I thought for sure I was just speaking a different language or something that he didn't quite comprehend. Okay, good to know. I'm glad.
Yeah.
So I always like to start with the couch conversation, of course.
Of course.
I like to ask how people found us, what their experience was like when they came in the gym, and let's go there. Let's hear from your perspective. What it was like.
So I actually don't know if you remember this, but when I started planning to move to Sandpoint, I had no idea what the hell I was going to, sorry, can I say hell?
Yeah, go nuts. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I worked at the Department of Defense in Western Washington. And so when I moved over here, my job wasn't like transferable. I didn't want to keep doing like sheet metal. Like it just was not. So I was trying to figure out what like business I could start. And so somebody gave me your information to contact you on Facebook Messenger, and I Facebook Messengered you and talked to you just barely briefly. I quickly realized that Sandpoint's already got really awesome gyms like established, and I didn't see any reason for need for another gym. So I went another direction, but that was originally what made me find Sandpoint Strength. And like,
was I nice?
For the first time. You were super nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, good. I try to be. I try.
Yeah.
I do. I think I vaguely remember that conversation.
It was a super vague conversation, but it was like that was my first introduction to Sandpoint Strength, and that was before I even moved over here.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, good.
And then so once I moved over here, it was probably a year before I ever made it in to meet you guys. And I was kind of just doing my own thing, getting settled here. But I think finally I was settled enough to, want to find like a home gym. And Crystal hooked me up with the cleaning job at night. So that was kind of my step in, and then I started working out with you guys, and then that's when I started coaching with you, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Yeah. And I think from what I remember, I think you and I broached the coaching conversation because you just have such a cool, like, I just love your personality. You're just so nice, friendly, like you're
Mm.
easy to have a conversation with. And I think you would, I don't remember how that exactly went, but I think you had been coaching at a gym over in Western Washington.
Hmm.
And so it was just like a natural, like, I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
where have you been? Like, this is awesome. So
Yeah. So weird thing was I think I just mentioned it to like a couple people that like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that again, kind of considered it. And I don't know if it was like you or Amanda who was just like, hey, you want to do that? I'm like, yeah. So yeah, the more you tell people what you want to do and what you're looking for, they seem to find you. That's one thing I've learned about like small towns is just start talking to people and be like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is the direction I want to go. Or, you know, um, who could you who could you introduce me to is like a big one. So
totally.
yeah, it's good small town stuff.
Yeah. There's a couple, one thing, people, when I moved here, they would say things like, in fact, they would say this specifically, that Sandpoint's magical. Like they have this,
Yeah.
there's this weird magic here that like, if you want it to happen or if it's intended to happen, it's going to happen. And
Yeah.
that's how I ended up.
Hmm.
Actually, I technically didn't start the gym. The gym was started by a guy named Duffy and a guy named Britton.
Hmm.
And I moved here with the intent to start a gym.
Yeah.
And like magically, I ended up connected through to Duffy by going down to CrossFit Coeur d'Alene. So I went the totally opposite direction. And they're like, yeah, there's a guy named Duffy up there who owns McDuff's, and he's got a little garage gym. Why don't you connect with him? So, anyways,
Oh.
like the weird magic thing, like
Yeah.
exactly what you just said, which I think have a lot of people are really timid about, just kind of putting it
Hmm.
out there.
Yeah.
And so they don't get the opportunities if they don't put it out there. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome. Good for
That's
you.
one thing that I've had to learn. Like, I've never been the kind of person to like let people know I need something.
Yeah.
I've always just been way too independent and be like, I got this, make everybody think that I'm in control when the reality is no, I am fighting for my life over here. So, especially moving to a small town, it's like you really just have to open up and like let people meet you where you're at and see you where you're at. And like, you're not going to be perfect, and like you need something, start asking around, start telling people, hey, I'm struggling in this area, or hey, I'm actually doing really good in this area, and maybe you could be there to help somebody else. Or and that's, I think, the magic of like the community that I've built and found here.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
Hmm.
I think I think the vast majority of people get a lot of uh, satisfaction with helping.
Oh, absolutely. Hmm.
And so I think
Yeah.
people are really intimidated or timid to ask for help. But when they
Hmm.
do, I think there's such like it's almost a selfish. Like I feel selfish sometimes because of how much joy I get out of
Yeah.
helping somebody else. Um, but I think again, most people are too scared to ask. But it's
Absolutely. That was,
so
I mean, that's the thing that I think it took me a very long time to learn is that you're not a burden when you're asking somebody for help. You're actually, if you don't ask somebody for help, you're taking away the opportunity for them to get to help you, because most people are just like you, where they're like, they get the joy and they get fulfillment and like joy and relationships and helping people and like building with somebody. And so for me, I've hyper independence has been just me. So something I've relearned is not having to do everything alone, and that like people, I'm not a burden when I'm asking. People genuinely want to be there for you and help. And I'm still learning this. But that's been very eye opening in the last few years to learn.
I think that's a great. I think that makes for a really successful balance though, and if because the independence thing is important.
Of
Like I think
course.
there is a little bit of that knowing that you can do it on your own. I think
Mm-hmm.
that breeds
Mm-hmm.
confidence, and I think it breeds, uh, I don't know, the
Yeah,
ability to tackle whatever. But
absolutely.
then it can be so much exponentially multiplied if you allow others the opportunity to help, which is cool. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's one thing about like I've always been a very just like independent and confident person. And I've never really thought there was something I couldn't do if like I tried. And like um but I think I took that too far to where I thought I had to do everything alone. Just because I could. Just because you
Yeah.
can doesn't mean you can't. But there are times in life where like you are going to have to do things alone, and you know, going through times in life where you are forced to do it alone and you built the confidence to do it, that even when you have a community and people around, you know that if it came down to it, you can do it on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird badge of pride that I have. Like, this is my
Hmm.
experience with it. And I've been working on it quite a bit, is asking for help thing. Like, I always wore the independence or like, ability to do whatever on my own as a, like a badge of pride.
Yeah.
But recognizing that I'm actually limiting those around, like, again, what I
Hmm.
think I've already established this, but like limiting people's ability to help because like I don't get it, but it's also it's not only a detriment to them, but it's a detriment to like for business for me. Like we have such a phenomenal team here, like everybody's so helpful. I
Hmm.
don't, but I'm always hesitant to like even ask. Like I'll do it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
but it's not
It's a
good because we have
balance
yeah for
for
sure.
sure.
So talk me through how you found like so you've been a big CrossFit person for how many years now? What was your
Mm.
journey through that like?
So my son was a baby when I found CrossFit. So it's been about, he's 8 now, almost 9. And my best friend, that we've been best friends since we were like 13. Her boyfriend at the time was a CrossFit coach, and for years they were like, "You need to come in. You would love this." And I was like, "I'm not paying 150 or $180 to go to a gym." And
Yeah.
they're like, just come in and try it because like you'll get it. Like it might not make sense when you think about it that way, but just check it out. And I was just like, no, I'll work out on my own. Newsflash, I didn't. I didn't work out on my own. I had gym memberships that went completely unused for years. Um, but it was after my son was born and I started, you know, when you're a new mom, you feel a little isolated and like you need to, everything is all about other people. So for me, I needed to find something to do for myself, to kind of feel like myself again. And so that's when I was like, finally like, okay, I'll come into your gym. And day one, I was just hooked. I literally
Yeah.
never stopped. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
So what was your like I've always had this impression of you that like I feel like you're kind of naturally fit. Is that true?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm naturally athletic, but I
Mm.
never like sports growing up. You know, I was raised by a single mom with 3 kids. Sports wasn't an option because how are you going to get there and back? And like my mom was at work when you went to school and when you got home from school. And so I feel like I missed out on the opportunity to like be athletic when I was really young. Um, but I was always like loved PE classes. My senior year of high school, all of my last semester, since you could just take whatever classes, I took like 3 different PE classes. So we had A days and B days. A days was like, you know, your math and your required classes. And then my B
Yeah.
days was like swim for fit, weightlifting, and like track and field or something. It was just all
Nice.
like, I've always just loved being physically active, going and big hiker and stuff like that. So naturally athletic, but CrossFit
Yeah.
was the first time I felt like I could actually like do something with intent, and
Yeah.
like track it and see the gains and like as soon as I walked in that gym and I tried doing a clean for the first time, and I was like, holy crap, I suck at this. That's when like the world of like Olympic weightlifting opened up for me because I got obsessed with being
Yeah.
able to do it and not look like an idiot. Like I'd do the regular class, and this was like my first few weeks, and I'd stay after just doing cleans. I'm like, what the hell is all of this? And then like you feel like you do one good one, you're like, oh my God, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And then
Yeah.
you try to do it again, you're like, I can't figure this out. So that was one of the big things that made me really love it, is just it's technical. And even when you feel like you're doing good, there's always more. There's a
Yeah.
new rabbit hole to go down. There's new goals to set. And so that's what I really loved about it, is I felt like I could finally be like a part of something and kind of see like that progress and build. I didn't really start working out to like be fit. I just
Yeah.
wanted to do something for me that made me feel good. And that's when, like, for me, the benefits of CrossFit has been I mentally feel strong and I physically feel strong. And like just the way it changes you mentally and like physically on the inside is so much more than like if you were to go into a commercial gym and just like, try to get a bigger butt or something. It's a whole different thing.
Totally.
So yeah, and you do it for functionality and for like I do it because I want to know that I can go out and do anything I want to do. I'm not going to be held
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
So that is it's the feeling of confidence and just being physically and mentally fit that just really keeps me coming back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's what I've seen over the last 15 years or whatever. Sometimes people, they hit that wall of discomfort and they
Mm-hmm.
back away from it and they just turn around and do something more comfortable. So I think I find it very commendable when people find something that's challenging and makes them feel stupid, or they
Oh
feel
yeah.
like they look stupid, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, well, I'm just going to keep looking stupid until I don't.
And
And
that
that's,
I mean, for me, that's what I love so much is I remember when I first walked into the gym and I saw everybody doing these things, I was like, there's no way I could do that. Like somebody just like nailing a clean or like a
yeah,
super smooth snatch. And I'm just like, holy crap, I wish. And because that's just the kind of personality I am, I'm going to make sure I can do that. I'm going to
yeah,
like get there, even if like there's a little thing in the back of my mind that's just like, oh, you could never do that. Like my friend, when I was super new to a gym, we were like back squatting together and I was back squatting like 165 or something after like 6 months, which was still good.
yeah, it's
But
quite good.
at that point, I felt like, oh my gosh, I've made so much progress. And you goes over there and like squats 215 like it was nothing. And I was like, that's rude. And then so like I remember thinking at that time, like just like a few months in, being like, there's no way I could ever do that. And then like maybe just 2 years later, I squat 250, not even realizing. And it was like later that day that I was like, that was literally the number that I thought I would never be able to do. That like I looked at that girl being like, you are so amazing. And like the fact that now I could do it,
Yeah,
that's like that was one of the things that like for me that's what keeps me like really really hooked is there's always something.
that's awesome. What's your
Mm-hmm.
mental process like? Where, because it sounds like you had a disbelief of your actual ability to do, like a pretty strong disbelief
Mm-hmm.
in a couple things. Like, do you get intimidated and then just like talk yourself down, or you just latch on
Oh
and
no,
go
it's
and just find
probably
out?
honestly I think it's like a pride and ego thing. I've have it's not a good trait, but I have this thing where I want to be the best, I want to do the best, I want to, I don't want to I just want to be best.
Yeah,
I've gotten
yeah,
better as I've gotten older, but it's certainly is just like a pride and ego thing that's like if you can do that then I can do that too, and it's like I have to prove it to myself that I can do that. So not
I
so
love
much
it.
anymore. But when I first started it was very much a pride and ego thing, which I learned as it's good and it's not so good. There's a balance in that too.
Yeah, that's a mature. I think that's like I've had the same journey, and I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit of a. It's not so black and white of like competitive me versus them, but it's like a. It's more. I don't know. Do you feel like it's more inspirational now and understanding that there's a process that you can get there?
Yeah, like it's not a me versus them, it's a me versus me. So
Yeah,
it's not like it's just that I see that if someone else can do it, then if
yeah,
I put in the work and the effort, then I can do it too. And
yes,
it's all about like hitting that, like when you're in like the middle of a really hard workout, it's like pushing past that boundary that feels so uncomfortable. But
yeah,
the best feeling in the world is after you're done and you're like, holy shit, I pushed that far. And it's the same thing with like weightlifting or like Olympic lifting or whatever, like pushing yourself to like scary places. Like, um, I once thought I could never like clean 185. Like that was a terrifying thing. But now I'm just like, that doesn't even seem scary anymore.
yeah.
Now, once upon a time, but it's like just being able to push through those blocks of I can't to well, I'm going to prove myself wrong.
Yeah. And there's the canary, like you can see, you're witnessing it, that it's not only possible, but this
Mm-hmm.
person that you know who is human is
Yeah.
also doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the hell. Because again, through my journey, there's been more of the competitive side, and I've watched people kind of destroy themselves competitively
Mm-hmm.
because it's just an ego. But I think more now, the mature side of me just says, okay, well, if they, like, I can do this, and I should
Yeah.
probably turn it up a little bit. And it's, again, not about beating them. It's just understanding there's a motivation or inspiration to do more
Yeah.
for myself. So,
I think for me, it was a phase that I had to get through. At that phase in my life, everything was relatively new and I hadn't proved to myself yet.
mm,
So when I remember about like a couple years into working out, some of the newer people at the gym would come up to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. I wish I could do that." And I was just like, "Me? What are you talking about? Me?" And then that got me thinking about like how I recently was in their shoes thinking the exact same thing.
yeah.
Um, so I forgot where I was going with that. Um,
Oh, yeah, totally.
but
I think that was it. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just, oh, that's right. So that time in my life, I was super competitive. But it was, like I said, it was more competition with myself. But I got through that. Like I hit like the weightlifting goals I never thought I would be able to. I hit like I had opportunities. I trained at Invictus in San Diego with their Olympic lifting coach for like 8 months. And so that felt like a big thing to me. That like really refined a lot of things and like taught me a lot there. Um, and so I think after that experience and after getting as strong as I wanted to get, and then making the choice to step back from that, um, now has got me into a place where I'm just like, I know I can, but I don't need to. And I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with where I am. And it's more of the competition isn't there because I know I can do it. I've been there,
Yeah.
I've proven it to myself. I don't have the need to prove it anymore.
Totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. Same. Have you turned that in different directions now? Like, I've watched you snowboard your face off this year. Are you a relatively new snowboarder? Is this just something you've
So
done forever?
no, I wish. When I moved here year before last year, so not this last season, but the season before, was the first time I had basically ever been on a snowboard or skis or anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I basically taught myself while trying to teach my 7-year-old at the time, 6-year-old, how to ski. Um, and then, so I did that for a little bit the season before. But mostly that season was really rough of like, I had some friends I would go with every once in a while and just like keep up and don't die. But
Yeah.
this season, I was up there basically by myself all the time. And that really gave me the opportunity to actually like refine the things I needed to refine, um, and just be able to go have fun. So the first
Yeah.
part of the season was a little more of that like learning curve. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I actually can do this. And I didn't like, I felt like I could go anywhere and be fine. So then that's when I got hooked, is like, there was always something new to explore. Like, I started the season off like just staying on the groomers, like learning to get comfortable going fast, learning to carve around, just kind of have fun cruising. Um, by the time the real like deep powder days came, I found the joy of tree runs.
Yeah.
And then that turned into all the side hits. And then that turned into like, oh, I want to see if I can start running through the park a little bit. And then it was just, again, it was this snowball of like, what can I do next? That
Love it.
turned it into like an almost 100-day season.
That's
So
amazing. Holy
yeah.
cow. Good for you.
And the great thing is, if I hadn't been on this fitness journey beforehand, there's no way, basically my first season, that I can go in and have a 100-day season and feel great. Um, so just with my, fitness being so important to me and, my history in the gym, I can go out and I can do that. I can't imagine that if I was the same person before I stepped into CrossFit, that I would have been able to get more than, a handful of days in a season.
So do you think that was more mental or physical?
I think both because I mean, I didn't most days, there were some short days, but there were many, many, many all day long days. Like
Yeah.
there when the
Okay.
first chair opened to the last chair. And then like I could go all day long for a week or two at a time and still feel great, not be fatigued. And like there were times where I just wore my body out so much I had to take a break. But I could go all day for days and days at a time and keep up with the people who've been doing it their whole lives. And I feel like my body was just ready for it. It wasn't physically a challenge in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. But you've probably thought this through already. But what you just said to me about snowboarding is almost the exact same thing you said to me about CrossFit.
Yep. That's just
You
my
know?
personality.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think that
You
like
can do it too.
I think the comfortable lab. I always kind of consider the gym as like this. It's a safe place
Hmm.
to experiment. Like you get to
Yeah.
fail and you get to, miss lifts. You get to
Hmm.
drop things. You get to whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that you get to a safe place to experience those kinds of discomfort that open your eyes to the whatever else. Like you said earlier, like you don't see anything as being impossible for you.
Yeah.
And so the same thing I think is like as
Hmm.
on a snowboard where you took it from
Yeah.
you didn't think you could ever do anything, and now you're doing 100 days,
Yeah.
which is
I mean,
amazing. Full days.
full days. Yeah. I mean, the key is you can't be afraid to fail. Like
Yeah.
you can't. If you're afraid to fail or you're worried about what people are going to think of you or any of that, then you're never going to succeed. Like it is really, just like it's really intimidating to walk into a gym for the first time. It's really, really intimidating to walk onto a ski hill for the first time with all used gear, not even knowing how to get on and off a ski lift. And like, that's really intimidating too. And then you're stuck on the bunny hill for weeks, just falling like an idiot with all the, 6-year olds. And it's intimidating. And if you're not willing to look like an idiot, and if you're not willing to like get really messed up because you're falling all the time, then you're just not going to get there. You have to be willing to like go through the shit to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And with everything else, I don't know if there's anything worth doing that you're not going to feel like an idiot when you first
Mhm.
start.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I love that. I think that's I love obviously the physical transformations people can experience, but the mental transformations,
Absolutely.
my favorite.
Hmm.
The first time somebody jumps on a box or does a lift or does a hand, like the things that
Hmm.
I could probably argue against the purpose of in real life is I can argue so strongly for because of that feeling of I can't, and then
Hmm.
recognizing that you can through
Yeah.
whatever. Just
This,
maybe fall or feel stupid once in a while. That's
I
okay.
mean, watching somebody build the confidence is for a coach probably one of the most like exciting things. And it doesn't even have to, like you said, it could be somebody jumping on a box the first time. I'm more excited about that than somebody's PR lift,
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
just or like when I did my first muscle up, I was so upset. I used to go into my gym just, whenever I had the time. And so I was in there by myself, not a soul in sight. I'm like, I'm going to try some muscle ups because I had a friend who was just like, tense every muscle in your body. So I looked on the bar and I was like, I'm going to try jumping into it instead of like grabbing and swinging, jumped on that thing, muscle up, right up. And I looked around, I'm like, not a single person is here. I got on video though, so that was good. But
Nice.
like looking at like ready to celebrate with like the people who've like been watching me just like try and fail and like this that was a big accomplishment for me. Like looking out for like people who've like been there watching and they're not there. That was sad. So that was
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
first box jump moment that like as a coach, if I was my coach then, I would have been so bummed to miss that moment.
100%.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. But it's true. It's black or white, and you feel like you emerge on the other side as like this new butterfly,
Yeah.
recognizing the what can be possible.
Yeah.
That's cool. How about for your son? Like, how has that helped? Has he seen your fitness and I don't know, stubborn ways, stubbornly optimistic ways about what you want to do? Has that translated into him?
I mean, that's a good question. I think to him, it's normal because that's been his whole life.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm really proud that I think he can look at me and know that there's not really anything I can't do. And I get
Hmm.
to show him every day by everything we do, whether it's him going to the gym with me or him going up skiing with me, or, we're learning to skateboard this summer. And like, so I get to show him that like there's nothing you can't do if you just keep going. And like he watched me be the worst snowboarder on that whole mountain. And then
Yeah.
by the end of like this season, he got to say like, my mom is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So like just him being able to see that, I feel like I hope he'll be able to take that like into his life and be an extra thing to build his confidence. And like that's a really good thing as a parent to be able to like do for your kid, is just show them that like the courage and hard work and effort, like it really pays off. You have to be willing to go through the whole process. You can't start from like, you can't go from A to Z. Everybody
Yeah.
goes through the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's probably more empowering than he might realize at this point, like for the rest of his
Hmm.
life, to realize that he has that within him to do whatever the heck he wants.
Yeah.
I also feel like, and this is I feel so old when I say these things, but I feel like they're true, is that kids are more protected now. And I don't know that they witness that or get to
Hmm.
experience it themselves as much
Hmm.
as we might have, or even previous generations
Yeah.
were able to
Yeah.
fall.
I
So
have a
yeah.
really, I have a bit of a hard time with that because I remember my childhood and I remember the independence I had. And like, that is a key thing of making me the person I am, is the freedom you had like growing up in the 90s is just unparalleled to what kids have now. And
Totally.
so it's hard as a parent growing up like that and knowing that it shaped you into the person you are, and like is one of the things that you're like most proud of, that like that was really important character building. Like I try to take every opportunity I can to like make sure that I can still parent some way that it was. Like the world is a scarier place. I don't know if it's like, I think it's the internet. We have too much information. The too
Yeah.
much information is scaring people. So I try to
Yep.
think that like there are a lot of things that I'm just like, would I do this when I was 8? Yeah. Okay, go do it. I have to kind of look past the society and the expectations we have now for parenting and look more of like, I think that kids aren't given enough credit. Like we just don't give kids the credit that is due. They're
Mm.
so capable and they're so, you have to give them those opportunities to be capable, and you have to give them the opportunities to like be independent, or they're never going
Totally.
to build that confidence that they can do it themselves. Um, so like parenting now is hard because I really want to be able to raise them like it's the 90s, but it's not the 90s. So you got to find times. So trying to think of like something that I've done to like push myself past what I would normally be comfortable, because it's so easy to over parent and over coddle, but you just got to let them do it. Like I also don't want to be judged for this, but my my son has always been the most like trustworthy when he's like doing things. Like I've
Hmm.
never, from the time he was a freaking baby to a toddler, he doesn't do things that he's not comfortable doing. He's never been a kid to get into something or be sneaky, or I can leave candy and snacks in the cupboard and he will be like, "Mom, can I have this?" And I say, "No, go put it back." And I know 1000% he's putting it back. He's not trying to
Yeah.
sneak it.
Yeah.
And even when he was a baby, he was a big climber, but he had the sense to be like, I shouldn't do that, and he'd back up. I've never had to over coddle him. So I mean, he was as young as 5 or 6, and like if I had to go to the grocery store and I knew I was only going to be gone for 10, 15 minutes, are you comfortable staying home? And if he said yeah, and I'd go. I remember the
Yeah.
first time he was probably 5 or 6. I don't even think he started kindergarten before, and we were living in San Diego at the time, and there was a coffee shop right underneath our apartment. And so I said, "Bud, I'm going to go get a coffee. Do you want to come with me or do you want to stay here?" And he goes, "I'll stay here." And I go, you're not worried about staying home by yourself? Because this is the first time I had left him. And he
Yeah.
just looks at me like, no, why would I be?
Yep.
And so that was where I was just like, you know what? I'm not giving him enough benefit. Like I need to realize that if he's comfortable doing it, I need to back off and let him prove it to me and himself. So, I mean, after that, I always just kind of said, hey, but what are you comfortable with? I'm good, mom. Okay, then I'm good too.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally, I think that the independence you allot them now will just translate into them when they're on there. Like eventually our job is to get them free on their own. Like our
Mm-hmm.
job is not to coddle
Absolutely.
and parent and have
Yeah.
our voices in their heads all the time. It's to have
Mm-hmm.
them make their own good decisions and
Yep.
like allowing them the freedom to make those decisions as early as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I remember when I first flew the coop and everybody like moves out on their own. The kids that had the most restrictions and the most boundaries and the most coddling growing up were the ones that went the absolute wildest as soon
Oh
as they got
yeah.
out on their
Oh
own.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, oh man,
Absolutely.
I have
Mm-hmm.
nobody
Yeah.
putting any boundaries on me anymore.
As
Yeah.
a parent, you have to trust your kids, and good parenting is building and establish of trust both ways. Like earlier today I told Sawyer, I go, you need to be off your iPad by the time I get back from the store. And I go, can I trust you to do that? And he looks at me and goes, yeah, mom. I go, great.
Yep.
So I left and I come back, and when I walk in the door, I see he's sitting next to his iPad. And I'm like, were you off your iPad before I came home? He goes, oh, yeah, I was, I put it down like 3 minutes ago. And I looked at him and go, it's way more important to me that you trust me enough to know that even if you make a mistake, you can tell me and nothing will change. I go, do you want to change your answer? And he goes, yeah, I just got off of it. And I was like, I know. And the important thing is like, that's not a time where I feel like I should be punishing him for doing something wrong. And or even after that, I was like, I know, I was a kid once too. We're all human. Those are the things in life that we all do.
Yeah.
And so like it's so much more important for me to know that when he tells me something, my reaction is going to be a safe place for him. He's not going to get in trouble because he's honest and open with me. He's going to
Yeah.
be, and I just, the trust mutually is just so important to me. And I feel like that just builds the best bond as a mom that you can wish for. Like me and like he's only 8 years old and we have such a good bond. Like I feel like we just trust each other so well. And it's just, letting them be kids and knowing that they're going to do stupid kid stuff because I did that. But I also kind of remember that like I didn't feel like I had a safe place when I screwed up,
Mm.
and I, looking back, I wish I would have had people to go to be like, hey, I screwed up and know that I'm safe to say that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what yeah, again, just super important to me.
Totally. No, I love it. Again, I think that's so, and I can see it. Like your guys' relationship, I don't spend all that much time with you guys, but when I do,
Hmm.
like, I see you guys. Yeah, it's a cool, like, symbiotic. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just cool.
We're just like,
So,
we're just, I don't want to say like buds, but I treat him as an equal. And I want him to see me screwing up. I want him to screw up. And like, we get through things just together. Um, so yeah, it creates a really, really good dynamic.
yeah, I mean, there's a line of, you're not giving them the keys to the car and like,
Oh,
hey,
for sure.
well, good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah.
See you later. Sure, you'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, to
Yeah.
allow them the
Mhm.
opportunities to fail
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
do it like we were saying, like the gym being an opportunity to fail and to
Mhm.
experiment and make mistakes, but
Yeah.
you're not going to put him in a situation where he's going to do something
Oh, of course.
catastrophic.
Yeah.
It's just a so
Mhm.
yeah, I'm fully on board with that, and
Yeah.
I think it's so important.
And
So
it's about like building that bond just and that trust super early on, because like say like with the car thing, say if we weren't working with him at a really young age to build that mutual trust and that communication, that when he's 16, um if we don't have that trust, I'd have to be like, oh, I have to be scared at that moment. But instead now I feel like
yep,
when we get there, I can be like, let's talk about this. What are your feelings about it? These are my feelings about it. This is my experience. This is
Yep.
what you need to look out for. And I know because we have that strong open communication from forever, I'll feel comfortable knowing that I set him up for success in those scary situations.
Yeah. Yeah, for
As
sure.
best I can. Not to say he
Yeah,
won't
right,
go out
right.
and do stupid things. I'm sure he will, but
That's a
I've done
scary.
what
Yeah,
I've done what I can.
totally. Yeah,
Hmm.
a lifetime of that experience is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to transition a little bit because I know you've got a jewelry business as well.
I
I want to talk about that and how
do,
you like what
yeah.
that's like, what you're doing, and get the other side of that
Oh,
part maybe.
it's been a bit of a journey. So right now I'm actually, well, I guess we'll start with my business that I started when I moved here is the Jewelry Bar. It is like a workshop inspired jewelry studio. People can come in and learn metalsmithing. I use silver and gold. Um, and this month has been super exciting because I've done like back to back to back, like wedding band workshops where I've had couples come in and they like make their own wedding bands. And I've got somebody coming in tomorrow and I have a half finished engagement ring sitting over there that I'm working on. And like, that has been like the kind of transition there that I'm like, this is really what's like speaking to me. Um, so another thing that has been difficult with having my jewelry studio be like come in and make things is that I haven't had a good place to like sell all my stuff. And
Mm,
I've tried doing like an online store and attaching it to my website, and it's always just kind of flopped. Because for the Jewelry Bar, it's been experience based. Like I opened that being like, I want to build something where people can come and have an experience. So that just wasn't transitioning well to opening a store called the Jewelry Bar. So when you go
mm,
onto my website, there's like a little shop tab, but say if somebody's in New York and they go to the Jewelry Bar and they're like, this is a workshop studio, they're going to get confused and leave before they even get to the shop page. So what I've been working on is building a whole separate brand and company for an online store. So I do sell in the farmers markets in the summertime, which is just it goes really, really, really well. And I get so much good feedback that I'm just like, I really need a good place to like sell this stuff. Um, and so I'm halfway. I have like a website built. I'm in soft launch mode for my new online brand, which will be Golden North Co. And so I'm kind of soft launching that while I do the farmers market. And I'm kind of
nice.
introducing and getting feedback and figuring out like what my lines are going to be when I really do like the hard launch. And kind of testing what I'm going to do. So I'm super excited about that. Super excited. I think it's going to go really well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love the experience based jewelry. That's so. God, I've been married forever now.
Yeah.
John and I've been together for 15 years this summer. But that would have been cool, to be able to
Right?
do that together and
Yeah.
like build that and have
Hmm.
something that's, I don't know. I think I grabbed something off the shelf and
Yeah.
said, "Sweet, this will be
And I
fine."
mean, that's exactly what it is that a wedding ring it's supposed to mean something. It's all about the meaning.
Mm,
It's not,
mhm.
and to me, that's what's important to me. I don't really care about things so much, but if that thing has a meaning tied to it, then that's when I'll find value in something.
Yeah,
So that's why I've been really, really loving the wedding band ring workshops is like, you don't have to just go to a store and be like, oh, that's good. You can come and actually like with your own hands create something, and that's what you're going to wear on your finger for like the rest of your life. And like people come in and they'll make each other's wedding bands, so you
yeah,
get to wear the ring your wife made you, or you work on both together where it's like we made this together. And so just like with my Golden North line, I didn't think about grabbing this stuff, but oh, so this one here, oops, this one here is made of emeralds and it spells out in Morse code, begin again. because and so emeralds are all about like growth and like new beginnings
Yeah.
and so when I moved here, I basically said I gave up my whole life. Like I had to build a whole new life from absolute scratch. Like I didn't even have a job when I moved here. I just moved here. I didn't have a place to live. I just showed up and I was like, well, here we go. Wonder what's going to happen. So for me, like these are my favorite pieces, and they're going to be my main line for Golden North is I'm right now I have sapphires, which are oh, I forget. So I have sapphires and tanzanite, which are around the same meaning. And then one
Yeah.
spells out rise and the other spells out trust. And for me, that was like my story of moving here is just I had to like rise to the occasion. I had to trust that even though I don't have a plan, I'm going to figure it out. And, you know, I had to start all over. So those are like, that's like the like inspiration for the other jewelry brand. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it's, I would rather have something that means something than, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty
Totally.
doesn't mean anything. But
Right.
something that is obviously beautiful but means something, like that's something I'm going to care about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally. I have similar stuff. It's this is a weird thing, but like I have a bunch of deer heads around the elk and all that stuff. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
and like most people don't get it, and I don't like it signifies something. I don't think I have anything that I've ever seen on and I brought home, like from a store. But
Mm-hmm.
all the things like have this meaning, and there's this story, and there's this, like I totally agree with the same. It's like the story behind it or the history of
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much more to that, and I think at the end of the day that's like all we really have at the end of it is
Mm-hmm.
like cool stories and things to remember our experiences and new beginnings and risks we took and journeys we began and failed on and you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Yeah.
that's super cool.
And that was like the inspiration for both my businesses is like I, you know, if I'm going to give up the career I spent a decade building, then I'm going to do something that like actually means something. And
Yeah.
it means nothing for me to just sell you something that means nothing to you.
Right.
It means something for me to like teach someone a skill, watch them like I want to actually do something that's going to bring me joy. And selling crap that you could get on Amazon does not bring me any joy. But selling experience or like sharing like my story of like how my businesses came or you know inspiring somebody else to like take the risk or like just because you don't know doesn't mean you're not going the right direction, like it's okay. um so that like I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just went in alignment and it turns out I like to sell value, and that value is not stuff that I wholesale bought and I'm reselling to you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I can just imagine the stories people are able to tell when somebody sees a piece of jewelry that they made, especially in the example of the wedding band, saying like to be
Hmm.
able to say, "Hey, we made these." This woman, Alex, showed us how to do it. She, you know, that's like the compounding nature of that story and just the
Yeah.
inspiration of how that will free other people from. Like, I have a big passion around people getting loose from the ties of things they don't like doing, especially in the occupational sense, where it's like,
Hmm.
hey, you got the rest of your life to
Hmm.
why spend all of it doing something you
Yeah.
hate?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
that was
cool.
really that was the inspiration for my moving over here was so my son's dad during COVID, him and his whole family, they were originally from this area. So him
Hmm.
and his whole family decided they were moving over here. And we had recently just split up at that time. And I remember him telling me, I'm moving to Sandpoint because I think it'll be a better way for Sawyer to grow up. And like in our old jobs, that kid grew up basically in daycare, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Yep.
And we both worked 6 days a week, sometimes seven, 8 to 12 hours a day. Like it was truly not a good lifestyle to raise a kid. And like I knew that deep down. But when he was like, hey, I'm moving to Sandpoint because I want to be able to do that for Sawyer. And of course, a mom, I'm like, the hell you are. Absolutely, you're not doing that. Um, and then it took me some time of thinking, just like, holy shit, the life I'm doing now, like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So it just kind of, I got to a point where I felt like that life I had built, which was the only life I had ever known, just
Yeah.
all of a sudden felt foreign and wrong. Um, and that was just when I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is absolutely not what I should be doing. Um,
That's awesome.
and so I was willing to come here without a plan, just knowing that like, as long as my goal is to like stay in alignment with what's best for him and what's best for me, I'll eventually figure it out. I mean, my credit
Totally.
score, I don't think will ever recover. You know, I ignore unknown phone calls because I'm pretty sure that's people trying to get me to pay things that I can't pay. But those are the things that I have decided it doesn't matter anymore. Like those things are not what's important.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, it's just life. You live and learn,
Totally.
and sometimes you just take a turn that you never expected to take, but it can be for the better.
Oh yeah, it always is. I mean, even if it doesn't, if it like the immediate transition doesn't happen, like it's never immediate. It's never
Yeah.
overnight. You know
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna botch the saying, but the people that think are overnight successes, like nobody saw the years and years and years
Yeah, yeah.
of stuff
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes that
Yep.
got them to where they were, and there was
Yep.
so much struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But like there's beauty in the struggle. The struggle is
totally.
how you become just a well-rounded person. Like I've gone through some shit in my life, but I I really love who I am now. So I appreciate all of the struggle and everything I've gone through to get here. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Um, but I just have to keep believing that like eventually I'll get there.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the same as all the things that we've talked, snowboarding, CrossFit, business. Like you start in feeling overwhelmed and like an
Mm-hmm.
idiot. You're making
Yeah.
all sorts
Oh
of
yeah.
mistakes and failing all the time. It's just on a bigger, longer term sense of the aspect. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually you get somewhere and you recognize your success and people are telling you how inspirational you are. And
Oh yeah. And I'm just like, what do you
just,
me?
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to
Glad I
focus on all
tricked
my
you.
failures. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
are you sure? You're talking the right? No, you have no idea what I look like getting here, what I look like now. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, I love it. Well, I'm super stoked that you moved here, threw it all up, and
Yeah, me too.
took the risk so you can
For
inspire
sure.
our people at the gym, and so you can help inspire people with their jewelry and
Absolutely.
teach Sawyer how to snowboard and take risks and become a
Right?
phenomenal
Yeah.
human being of his own. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
thanks for
all
doing
for the
this.
better, of
So,
course.
yeah. For sure. So where can people find your jewelry, etc.?
Um, the jewelry bar dash Sandpoint
Okay.
.com is if you want to just check out like the studio stuff. That is mostly for local people, but my separate brand is Golden North Co. and it is goldennorthco.com. And that will be more focused for just sales and reaching like wide net instead of just like tight knit. Local community is Jewelry Bar. I really emphasis on building like that community. Um, but I'm expanding that net out, and that'll be Golden North Co.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, Alex. I'm gonna let you go.
Mm,
Thanks for doing this. I'll see
absolutely.
you
Thank you.
soon.
Of course.
All
Bye.
right. See ya. That was all right. As always, thank you for listening. That was Alix Randall. And if you were so inspired by what you heard today or want to work with Alex or us at Sandpoint Strength, don't hesitate to book a no-spin intro by going to sandpointstrength.com and clicking on free intro. All right. Talk to y'all soon.